Hello, and welcome to the Soul Sisters and Seekers podcast. My name is Aruna.
My name's Liz.
My name is Gayathri.
I'm Vidhya.
We are four friends who love discussing all things related to spirituality. Each of us brings our own unique perspective to the table, and each week we discuss something new. This week, the question is from Liz.
Today, I want to pose the question, what is intuition? Today, I want to pose the question, what is intuition? For me, it's that gut feeling inside yourself. You know whether something's really right or really off. So that's the question that I pose.
Intuition is definitely that sense of, that sense of knowing, that sense of this feels right to me. When there's a situation, when do you actually need intuition? When usually making a decision of some sort, right? Or I guess it could potentially happen randomly, but I'm thinking when I use my intuition is when I have to make a decision. So when I have to make a decision, one feels right and one doesn't. So you kind of almost have like a response to the right path and the not so right path. And I think if you're in tune with your intuition, then you know which resonates with yourself. So that for me is intuition.
So I think for me, intuition is something that comes from deep within. Exactly like Aruna mentioned, like when you have to make a decision, even for simple things like, whether I should step out or, not step out today, like things like that. Like it always, I think deep within me, something always tells me to do things. And if something is not right, also, like many times I felt in my life, don't proceed further, right? Like, God has a different plan for you. So it has worked out in my life. It's just, I would say more like, listen to yourself, listen to your heart, or like however you want to put it, like, something that comes from deep within that makes you make better decisions in life.
How does that feel for you though, Vidya? Like, how does that feel? Like, does it, it does it somehow, do you have a physical response to what's right and what's wrong?
No, nothing like what's right and what's wrong. Like, it's just like, I think it's like a thought for me, right? Like, it's like, okay, I want to do this. Should I do this or not? And whatever comes first to my mind is what I want to go with. Then once I think about it, I don't think anything opposing to that, like no negative thoughts. I just stick to it, whether I'm going to make it or not. So that's how it works for me.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's the exact same for me. There's it's not even a thought, it's almost a knowing. It just to me anyways, it arises without any words. It's just like just a knowing. And like what you're saying with I don't oppose it and made some really big decisions, not challenging intuition. So yeah.
So I mean, I think for me more recently, I've noticed that especially when it comes to my career choices. And I know you ladies know I've been kind of struggling with that and, trying different things. And, and I think when something feels right, like I just feel like I'm passionate about it. I'm looking forward to it. And then like it feels right in what you were saying, Vidya. And then, but on the opposite side, the same intuition is also telling me, and my entire body is just like, it feels a little bit heavier for me when it's, it doesn't resonate with me, or it's maybe not the right path for me. So I think that's my experience of intuition.
Okay. Does anybody have any examples where they used their intuition and what was the outcome of that experience?
So when I was in college, last year of my college, what happens in engineering colleges back in India is like they come for campus interviews. You have to go through many different rounds. And some of my best friends got through a company that came before the company that took me or hired me. So I felt I had a strong intuition that I would get through that, whatever I was trying for. So I kept working on it. Like exactly like I mentioned, it was like a positive thought that came to my mind, and it kept telling me, you know, you're going to make it. And I still remember my group discussion. I'm not a very strong speaker in a group, especially. I try to be silent a little bit, watch people, observe, and then talk. And it was a lot during my college life. So the room full of like 20 people, and I was the last one to speak up. And it almost, I made it like, you know, I put everybody's stories together and I presented, and I got selected. So it was unbelievable. And that was also one of my happiest moments in my life. Like, you know, something I did by myself and without any support from anybody. So
Do you have
it
an
just started-
example where intuition told you not to do something?
Not to do something. Very, very, very funny stuff. My friends actually used to trust me with what I say sometimes, right? Back in college days again, my friend would say, okay, you know what? I'm going to meet my boyfriend. And then I would say, you know, don't go. He's not going to show up today. Right? Like sometimes she would go and she would come back and say, oh my God, I should have listened to you. Right? It's something like that. And, you know, many things. It's just a feeling and it just pops out of your mind and mouth, right? And then if it just becomes true, then you kind of feel, oh my God, I just felt it like so strong. So many places I felt that way.
So I have a small question on this. So when we feel our intuition, is there a pause from feeling the intuition to making the decision to following the intuition? Or is it intuition and then just like an automatic into it? So I guess the question is there a decision point whether you're following the intuition or not?
Yeah, I think so. A little bit like for me, like always there is a decision point, like I said, but you don't think through it much. You just act on it immediately, right? Like because
Yeah. So there's not much time
yeah,
between
much time
feeling
between
it and you making the decision. It's
yeah.
almost automatic.
Yeah, right.
I have a recent example of I recently got hired for a new job, and I had really positive vibes about this company. And the first day on my orientation, I parked my vehicle, and I said to myself before I went in, before I got out of my vehicle, actually, I said, I have a really good feeling about this. This is really good positive vibes. And then I get out of my car, close the door, and then I look at the car beside me, and it's a Pontiac Vibe. And how they're not very common anymore. So I thought, well, that's a good sign.
That's funny.
And just that comfort level and that knowing that you're at the right place at the right time. And you have that knowing that, yeah, this feels right. This feels good. And that little synchronicity about the vibe.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Well, Gayathri, what you were saying, I mean, I think it works both ways, right? I think sometimes you just go with it, and sometimes you pause and then you make a conscious decision to go with it. Sometimes you go against it, and then you're like, it doesn't feel right, but you do it anyway because there's other pressures. Like, for instance, you know, and certain things like are okay for a while, and then your intuition tells you it's not okay anymore.
And I'm curious to know, like, what is the definition of intuition actually?
I remember reading in a book, it's something to the effect of a decision not arising from thought, or rather, yeah, like a knowing or a decision point not arrived through thought. It just arises.
Another question that I have is, how do we cultivate and nurture our intuition? Does anybody have any ideas? How we can cultivate and kind of like
I thought
trust?
it is spontaneous. Like, can you really cultivate intuition?
Yeah, isn't it almost like a psychic ability? Like,
Yes.
right? So they do say that we all have, as we are all born with psychic ability, but the more you practice it and the more you're in tune with it. And I do think that there is some sort of like a response that it, feels right or feels not right. And I think, practicing that, what feels right, and then going through that exercise over and over again. And maybe you can practice it in saying, okay, what should I have for breakfast? Or, maybe even make that into small decisions. Oh, should I go out today or should I stay in? Should I make dinner or should I take out? You know what I mean? And then what feels right, to kind of practice it in smaller things. And then maybe that's a way of kind of cultivating it.
Right.
Another, that's a good one, Aruna. But another one also is that a lot of times we're not in tune with our own bodies. Now, intuition doesn't always come from with words, right? Or a knowing through words. It can be a contraction in your body, a contraction in your sort of your heart or your throat or your chest, whatever. All those could be intuitions. Like you walk into a situation or you're thinking a thought and your body contracts, your heart contracts, or your throat contracts, you're not in alignment with that thought, right? That is intuition as well. So Liz, going back to the question you're asking then is also to be body conscious.
Right. And that does take practice, right? To just
That does take
recognize it.
practice. Yeah.
Yeah. So just going back to the dictionary definition is the ability to understand something immediately without the need for conscious reasoning. So very close to what you were
very
saying.
close to what we discussed. I think. You don't think much. Yeah, it happens naturally, I think. Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's a very interesting discussion today. Thank you all for your input, your ideas, and your experiences. It makes for an exciting discussion, and it was definitely a very great topic. Thank you so much, Liz, for bringing that to us. So, with that, we will end our episode today. And if you're watching this, what do you think? What does intuition mean to you? And if you have any comments for us, or if you have any questions for us, you can drop it in the comments below. And we do encourage you to subscribe, participate with us, become part of our community of soul sisters and seekers. So with that, thank you very much. Namaste, everyone.